Hello and welcome to Rando Rob. Each week on Rando Rob, I'll be showing and discussing one item from my large collection of collections. New shows appear every Monday, and throughout the week, I'll be adding older episodes of Rando Rob that were previously only available to my Patreon subscribers. You can watch episodes of Rando Rob on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. Just look for the Rando Rob playlist. Audio versions of the show are available on my website at podcast.robohara.com or through iTunes. Just search for Rando Rob. Thanks for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoy this vintage episode of Rando Rob. And so, one of those things, and this is something that I just pulled out this morning and was putting on the shelf, and I thought this would be a good Rando Rob item. This is a plastic shrunken head. So it is, it looks like maybe for being stored in heat or something, it has somewhat become a little bit misshapen, but for the most part, it looks like it did when I first got it. There's a sculpture of his face. He's got this one eyeball bugging out. You can see around, all the way around. He's got these great ears, the back of his head, and this and that. He used to have, I believe, a little string that he hung from, but I don't see the string anymore. And then he is hollow, and inside there's like hay or something, like grass or hay that it was stuffed with. Now, the reason that I have this, and the story behind it, is all about my grandma O'Hara, Grandma O. And that is a picture of Grandma O right there. That was taken the weekend of her 80th birthday. And she passed away about 5 years ago, I want to say, around her 85th birthday. And the years between 80 and 85 were pretty rough for her. When we went and saw her for her 80th birthday, she was mobile. She was lucid. She had a great party. People came. She knew so many people in Chicago. She worked and then later volunteered at a local hospital. She volunteered for the place where they did rehab for elderly patients and things like that, and she would go in and help out and stuff like that. But she also had a job up until around the time she turned to 80. And that place was at a store called Chuck's House of Magic. Now, Chuck's House of Magic used to be, the location used to be a bank, and the bank was built right across the street from her house. She lived on a busy thoroughfare and like 4-lane road and with a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. Her house, like her front porch, when you went down the steps, there was a sidewalk, and that's what was in front of her house, was this busy road. And then across the street, and she lived like one house away from the corner. So it was like, actually there was another bank, like a drive-through bank, and then her house, right? And so across the street from her house, they built, there was this bank that was there. And then the bank, that other bank closed down, and it got turned into a place called Chuck's House of Magic, which was run by, I know you're not going to believe this, but a guy named Chuck. And so Chuck was, I think, part-time, a magician. But he also it was one of these stores. It's kind of like Party City or Party Galaxy. And I remember it being like 2 rooms when we went up to visit. The first room was novelty stuff and gift cards, and you could buy bouquets or flowers to be delivered. You could buy bouquets, like candy bouquets, and bouquets of balloons and things like that. So their delivery stuff, all that was one half of their business. And then when you went in the other room, it was just filled floor to ceiling with Halloween stuff, Halloween masks and costumes and all kinds of creepy little things like that. And then off to the side, there was a little area for magic tricks. And so Chuck worked there every day. If you wanted to buy a magic trick, this old man would come out, and it was Chuck, and he would perform the magic trick for you and show you the trick. And then if you bought it, he would show you how it works. If you didn't buy it, he would not tell you the trick. It's very old school. We used to have a magic store here in Oklahoma City that was similar to that. And then they had all kinds of cool masks and helmets. I remember Star Wars. What had come out? I think it was right around the time Episode 1 came out, and they had a whole bunch of different masks. And I bought like a pod racing helmet, and I bought a Boba Fett helmet and a Stormtrooper helmet, and I had all these Star Wars helmets set up as a display. It was kind of cool. I've still got the Boba Fett helmet's over here somewhere, and the Stormtrooper helmet fell apart. It got dropped one too many times. But my grandma was looking, she was retired, and she was looking for a part-time job. And so she got a job at Chuck's House of Magic. And so she could literally walk out her front door, walk over the distance of one house, press the crosswalk button, and, when the crosswalk light came on, she could walk across the street, and then you were in the parking lot of Chuck's House of Magic. And so, it couldn't have been any more convenient setup. And my grandma worked in the Halloween area, and she worked answering phones, taking appointments. And there was one thing she said that she wouldn't do. One of the things Chuck's House of Magic offered was a novelty bouquet you could have delivered, like for a baby shower or something, that was made with condoms. And she said she wouldn't do that. That was outside of her comfort zone. So anyway, after she worked for Chuck's House of Magic, she would send us things for Christmas or for birthdays that came from Chuck's House of Magic. And I hadn't been to the store yet, but the first year that she worked there, she sent my sister and I Christmas presents. And when I opened the box, and it says, from Grandma O, and has all these candy canes and little angels and stuff on it. And I open this box up, and I pull out a shrunken head that my grandma mailed me from Chuck's House of Magic. And so I've hung on to this, and I keep it, and I love it forever, right? Because number one, it's a shrunken head, and I'm pretty sure if you throw a shrunken head in the trash, curses await you. So I don't know the correct spells or whatever one might need to safely dispose of a shrunken head, right? But more than that, it just is like, it really shows how cool my grandma was, because I don't think a normal grandma, like most grandmas might get you, like my other grandma on the other side. And she was super, super nice and loved me as much as you could love a grandkid. But she got me things like mittens and scarves and things like that, But my grandma, knew me, right? And so, I'm sure she was in the store and was like, what is something my grandson would really like? How about a shrunken head? And I could just imagine her taking this head, wrapping it up, and putting it in a little package and mailing it off. And she was right. I do love the shrunken head, and I love that my grandma saw this. I want you to again take one last look here. She saw this and thought of her grandson and mailed it to me. So I've kept it all these years. I say all these years. This is probably 15 years old now at this point, and I've kept it all this time. I've always had it out on display, and then it's spent the last 3 years in a storage tub. And when I, from my move, because we moved to this house 3 years ago, when I opened the tub and saw this, I was like, yep. And so this is one of those things, whenever I see this, I think that's my grandma O. Again, if I didn't mention, this picture here was from the weekend of her 80th birthday. That's my son, Mason, who's now in college. So, it could have been more than 10 years ago. Looking at him, if he was 6 or 7 in that picture, and he's, will be 20. So yeah, maybe 15 years. I don't know. Time flies. Time flies when you get old, right? And then of course there's me, and I don't. I'm looking at that picture. It might have been at a breakfast place. I think it was at a breakfast place. In fact, there was a place just down the street outside her neighborhood called Blueberry Hill, and we would go there for breakfast stuff. And so I did go see my grandma a couple of times when she was declining and stuff, and she started having mobility issues, and she was having trouble walking, and then fell down a flight of stairs and broke her leg. That was no good. And then at the same time, she started developing dementia and other things. And so it was kind of rough there at the end. She lived 12-hour drive away, so I didn't see it every day. And so, I hadn't seen her over several years. So when I did see her, it was a shocking change, both physically and mentally and stuff like that. But I mean, my whole life, she was always, every time we got to go see her, she was always super awesome. She always went and did stuff with us. She came here to visit. And I got to say that by mailing this, that tells me that she knew me pretty well too. So anyway, again, thank you guys so much for your support. If it weren't for you, I can promise you that I would be not podcasting as much, if not at all, right now. And so when I see the comments that come in and I see all the people that are on Patreon and the stuff like that, it really does inspire me and makes me feel like people want to hear more stuff from me. So I appreciate everyone's support, and I will definitely, you'll be hearing some podcast stuff from me this week. And don't forget, Wednesday night I will also be streaming, and I will see you guys all then. Take care, everybody.